guys. So today we're just going to be talking again about how to do proper homeopathy and what's the best way to what's the best source for answering this question, how to do proper homeopathy. The best source is the original documents written by the founders of homeopathy. I don't know how you can argue with that. Some people say that the founders of homeopathy have become obsolete, and today now we know more than them, and they've been superseded. But I would advise you not to listen to those people, okay? Homeopathy in its original form, classical homeopathy. The name of this channel is Classical Homeopath. Classical homeopathy is what you want to look into, okay? Just think about this logically. They were scientific. They were much smarter than us. And nowadays, we have an endless ocean of grifters on the internet. Everybody knows that, right? And so do you want to listen to them? The grifters who are like new age, esoteric, spiritual homeopaths? No. You do not want to listen to them. Just look in the original documents and you will be much better off. Now, we're going to read Boger today. Boger was one of the classical homeopaths, and let's see. Boger was an American homeopath of German origin. He was born in Pennsylvania, 1861. He graduated from Philadelphia College of Pharmacy. He studied at the Hahnemann Medical College, and he gave lectures on homeopathy at a college, medical college in Cincinnati. So, as you can see, maybe not everybody knows, but homeopathy was taught at university level, at college level, in medical schools, and there were medical schools entirely dedicated to homeopathy. And nowadays we don't have that. So homeopathy was at a much higher level. It was studied much more deeply than today, and that's another reason why we have to just fall back on, the knowledge of the old masters. Basically, we can't just ignore them and come up with our own homeopathy. It's impossible. It's not going to work. It's not going to be a science, etc. So today we're just going to read Boger and what he says about how to practice correct homeopathy. Let us see. Medicines, this is what he says. This is about repetition of the dose, but it's like the general methodology of homeopathy. Medicines by proper higher potentization develop a continually widening, quicker, and more radical sphere of action. What does that mean? When you take a higher potentization, which means potentization is just the strength of a remedy, which you can see is the little number on the homeopathic remedy, right? You take the little tube and it says 200 or 30 or whatever. The higher the number, the stronger the remedy. That's basically it. It's very simple. Strong homeopathic remedies, higher potentizations, develop a continually widening, quicker, and more radical sphere of action. If you take a very high potency, the action will be continuous and continually widening over time, even over months, which means that you don't need to repeat the remedy. You don't need to do anything with the patient. If the remedy is selected correctly, the effect is going to widen over time. It's going to initiate a reaction in the patient, which I'm not saying it's a panacea. Everything is going to be cured in the patient. Sometimes it will, but basically it's going to have a very, very strong curative effect, move the patient in the direction of health in a continually widening manner without repeating the remedy. A single dose of the properly selected homeopathic remedy will in a short time transform the character of a disease as to cause it to show indications for a different remedy. Right. So how do we prescribe remedies in homeopathy? We just prescribe a single dose. We don't repeat remedies and we wait for the action. This is one of the fundamental laws of scientific homeopathy. And of course, to achieve this effect, you need to, the remedy needs to match the frequency of the patient exactly. You need to nail the patient, which remedy the patient requires. You need to be absolutely precise in your remedy choice, match the patient's frequency exactly. As you know, homeopathy is energy medicine, so it's all about frequencies. I know it might sound like new age bullshit, but we have a little bit of it in homeopathy, okay? A little bit of it. The remedies are based on energy and frequencies, but we test them. We test homeopathy, and objectively, the remedies work. And so we know it's working on an energetic level because they don't contain any material substance. So we have some esoteric woo-woo in homeopathy, but only a little bit, right? This is all we have, right? Is that the remedies work on an energetic level. The remedy has a frequency, the patient has a frequency, and you need to match those. And if you match them exactly, a single dose is enough to cause a reaction which will be continually widening, is what Boger says, okay? Who was a very smart person. You can say that he's obsolete, you can say that he's wrong, but you're just making a fool of yourself. You're just not in front of like the general public because they don't know anything about homeopathy, but in front of, classical homeopaths who you might not care about actually, but whatever. The common experience that the continued thoughtless and injudicious use of the same medicine often does more harm than good, and that two very similar remedies do not follow each other well, has its origin in this fact. Right. You cannot continue the use of the same medicine. Basically, you shouldn't repeat the same medicine, okay? That's what he says. I know that all the grifting homeopaths go crazy when I say this, but we don't repeat remedies in classical homeopathy. This is what everybody says. This is what Hahnemann says. This is what Kent says. This is what Boger says. This is a good one. In chronic disease, the action of the truly legitimate similar remedy must be left undisturbed if we wish to attain success. What does this mean? I'm just laughing because, I'm always attacked like, I'm attacked so ferociously by all my colleagues, my homeopathic professional fellows. It's like they go completely crazy. I've been on Reddit discussing homeopathy with other homeopaths, and they just go insane when you say this, but it's actually true. You can see all the quotes, and now here's a quote from Boger. We do not repeat homeopathic remedies in general. We do not repeat them. And this is a law in classical homeopathy. You give a remedy and you wait. This is the basis of classical homeopathy. Yeah, so I've been on Reddit, and I left the homeopathic subreddit because it's like I said that we don't repeat remedies, and they went insane, and then they were like they started attacking me, and in a way which, like, is as if I had said that I murdered their mother or something. This is when they're gonna go crazy. And for instance, if somebody says that this law is obsolete, we do repeat remedies in homeopathy, that's when you want to find another homeopath. Yeah. You can ask your own homeopath, what do you think about this rule? And if he says it's obsolete, I would move on to another one. External manifestations are in nowise indispensable to the existence of chronic disease. On the contrary, the more external vicarious symptoms are disturbed or repressed, the deeper they take root and flourish internally. It follows from the dynamic nature of the constitution of every real disease that it is never purely local, but always finds its genesis in the immaterial life force, therefore in the whole organism, and can only be rooted out as fast as increasing viral reaction displaces the primary drug action most rapidly towards the end. Abstracted from aphorisms of Hippocrates. Wow. That is very interesting, right? Hippocrates talked about this principle, which is kind of matches the homeopathic theory exactly, almost word for word, right? I don't know why it's here in the repetition of the dose, but it's interesting, right? It's talking about symptoms and the fact that, suppressing symptoms is very bad for health. It's very bad for a sick person. You should not suppress symptoms. Instead, of course, what we need to do, which is not here, is that give the correct homeopathic remedy, which does not suppress symptoms, but actually causes real healing, basically, right? In conclusion, it may not be useless to call to memory in an abridged form what my worthy friend Aegides says in Archive of Homeopathy, which coincides with entirely with my own experience that after the administration of the carefully selected remedy, as early as the latest as after the lapse of 8 days, one or of two events certainly follows each other. The state of the illness has changed. It remains the same. A change in the sick condition embraces three events. Either the condition is ameliorated, it is aggravated, or the disease alters its symptom complex. So what's going on here? You have to give a single remedy and then wait and observe the reaction. Now, don't repeat. Don't jump in with another remedy. Observe the reaction. Which can come as early as 8 days. But it won't necessarily come after 8 days. That's just my addition to that. It might come after a month or 2 months. So you have to wait patiently. And then you have to observe the reaction, and there are many possible reactions after the homeopathic remedy: healing, getting worse, or entering into some kind of other miscellaneous state. In the first case, one sees the medicine's beneficial action penetrating deeply, and it is therefore hasty not to wait the fullest extension of the amelioration. Here, at least, haste is useless, mostly harmful, and only then, when the improvement comes to a visible standstill, is it advisable to give a second, third, or fourth dose of the same remedy. Yeah, especially when there has been amelioration means healing, of course. Especially when there has been an improvement after giving a homeopathic remedy. Haste is being hasty is the stupidest thing you can do. Any other homeopathic remedy is going to disturb the reaction of the body, is going to disturb the healing, and you're going to spoil the whole thing. The disease might come back, the bad symptoms might come back, and you might never cure this person again, never be able to cure this person again. You might repeat the remedy, of course, when there's a relapse, but sometimes if the case comes to a standstill, so there's no improvement, even a little bit, you might consider repeating the remedy. Of course, that's also possible. In the second event, so Boger, this is Boger still. In the second event, we see the state of sickness becoming worse, particularly do the characteristic symptoms heighten their intensity without changing or transposing themselves. The so-called homeopathic aggravation. Here the remedy has overcome the action in its essence, and for a while nothing further is to be done, unless perhaps entirely too important complaints make the application of proper antidote necessary. Nothing further is to be done. Interesting. So you don't give any of the remedies, so you don't repeat the remedy. So in homeopathy, classical homeopathy, we don't repeat the remedy. Yes, we do not repeat the remedy in classical homeopathy. So all the people who are grifting, the grifters, the homeopathic grifters, the spiritual homeopaths, I know this is very painful for you, but this is like the basic law of homeopathy. Even if there's an aggravation, which is called worsening, if you don't know, even then we don't repeat, you don't do anything. We wait. So basically, in classical homeopathy, we don't repeat the remedy. I know it's painful for all the grifters. And guys, I'm not the only, I'm not the special boy of homeopathy. There's quite a big homeopathic faction which who stress scientific classical homeopathy. There are many homeopaths in the world like that. But the majority of homeopaths don't practice according to the basic rules. And homeopathy is in a horrible state. It's degraded and it's fallen apart. And it's 90% grifters who don't care about anything, any of the rules. So it's very sad. But as I'm saying that, I'm not like, you can find scientific homeopaths. And I'm not saying all homeopaths out there are negligent, and I'm the only one who is conscientious. There are others out there, but I think it's like I'm the only one on YouTube talking about this, or I'm the only one on Odyssey talking about this, and the other video platforms. I'm posting on all the video platforms. I don't see anyone else talking about this, which is crazy. Which is crazy. Everybody ignores the biggest minds of the 19th century, the greatest thinkers of medicine, and they just make up stuff. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. All the grifters. Some of my professional fellows are all just, most of them are grifters, and also on YouTube and Odyssey. If you look at the alternative health scene, then you can see that they're all new age esoteric grifters like Steve Falconer and people like that. If you look at Steve Falconer, like he's like the alternative health guru in the truth movement, Steve Falconer. And he's talking about like homeopathy sometimes, but he has no idea what's going on. Of course, the thought doesn't even cross his mind to look at the founding documents of homeopathy and the classics of homeopathy. It's just a pure stream of bullshit all the time, continuous. He's all in on the new age grift. He's talking about holographic blood, and it's obvious it's all fake and it's all bullshit, guys. And and he's of course ignoring the foundations of homeopathy. The third instance covers the alteration of symptom complex and its evidence when this happens that the remedy was not fittingly chosen and must be exchanged for a suitable one as soon as possible. When, notwithstanding the carefully chosen remedy and the patient's faultless diet, the sick condition, on the contrary, is not at all changed. As in the case mentioned under B, the cause usually lies in want of receptivity, which we must seek to remove either by repeated small doses or by medicines recommended for deficient reaction. Okay, so there are some special cases when you might use repeated small doses, for instance, when there's a problem of receptivity. But that's the exception, guys. By following these rules, we have the pleasure of assisting the sick to recovery in an incomparably shorter time than has commonly been possible under the former evil treatment, where the physician lacked a fixed rule of practice. The repetition of the dose is determined by the nature and force of the response elicited. This response reveals the actual status of the patient in proportion to the accuracy of the prescription. Yeah, you give a remedy and then you wait for the reaction and analyze the reaction. It sounds like common sense, right? Doesn't it sound like common sense? I have this eerie feeling that this is common sense. But nobody, I mean like 90% of homeopaths and the online grifters ignore this. They all ignore this. The speed of the reaction is actually governed by the course of individual affection, blah, blah, blah. Hence, it follows that a quick relief in chronic disease bodes no good. If the remedy has properly been chosen. Interesting, right? We can even go as far as to say that if it's the healing takes place too early, we should be suspicious that the remedy is acting superficially. It's not real healing. That's how much we tend to stress waiting, and that's how much we stress observing the patient's reaction over time, because usually there's a certain pattern which is not immediate healing. No second dose should be given as long as the relief progresses, even though slightly. Again, it's like again and again and again, we bump into this. We don't repeat the remedy. We don't give another remedy. As long as there is a continual improvement, even if there's a slight improvement, ongoing improvement, even then you shouldn't touch the patient, right? The amelioration is apt to show itself in mental state first. The mind becomes more tranquil and suffering is more easily borne, although the intensity may not. Okay. In a real cure, the symptoms recede from okay, I think that's enough for today, guys. I'm sorry that I might seem like I seem very negative. I seem very hateful about incorrect homeopathy. But I'm not a hateful person in general. I'm a chill person. I'm a polite person. But yeah, I don't hate these people. I hate them a little bit, okay? These people who practice homeopathy, but 90% of the people who practice are grifters, and it will lead to the destruction of homeopathy, which actually, it's not a future tense. It has already led to the complete destruction of homeopathy. As we can observe, in the modern world, homeopathy is receding. It's being forgotten. Its principles are being forgotten by the current practitioners. And there's a sea of grifters, online New Age grifters. And I am very angry at them. So sorry about that. Yeah. I think it's a natural reaction that people who lie to other people who deceive other people for monetary gain, and who also take part in the dismantling of a beautiful science. I think that crosses the line and is justified to be somewhat angry at those people. Okay, that's just my opinion. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and take care.